Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show. Esther, welcome to Consulting Leaders. Happy to have
Thank
you.
you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Oh, but it is my pleasure. All right, let's jump straight into it. Esther, tell us the story. What got you into what it is that you're doing now? Well, like leadership, storytelling. How did it become the core of your work today?
Sure. I didn't know it was a thing when I started, and most people didn't. And if you say storytelling, in fact, I'm about to go on NBC Chicago for a special segment, and the reporter who heard me doing this, she thought, "What age group are you doing it?" And I had already gone pretty far down describing my book, and then I realized, oh, she's probably assuming that I am a children's author. And so, because there's this very lack of definitions, it's good and bad. But how I got into it was I was an admission officer of the business school at the University of Chicago many, many, many years ago, where I read applications, interviewed people, thousands and thousands of them. And then I realized that most people have qualifications and most people are motivated and they're smart and they want to climb, they want to do better. Uh, but that's it. And I realized there that just because you have good intentions and great qualifications doesn't automatically guarantee you to get to the next step. And what makes a difference is the small percentage of the people who can tell a great story. And so those are the ones who tend to um, be able to get into prestigious universities business school program, and I realized that that's not just competitive admissions process. It applies to competitive anything, money, time, attentions, priorities. Anytime you're trying to compete for something that's scarce, um, you need to have great qualification, yes, but you also need to have a great story. So that's how I got into it.
Amen to that. So, what is the problem that you help people solve now? Like, what's the benefit of all this? Like, why what should be my problem and why is this a solution? Leadership storytelling.
Well, there's so much data, there's so much information, and data by itself is not very memorable, is not even interesting, and especially cannot really get people to care. But when a piece of information is nestled in a narrative, then it can be up to 20 times more memorable, and you're more likely to get people to pay attention, one, and number two, care, and number three, doing something about it.
Fair enough. This is a good reason enough to me. Who do you help? So obviously there's going to be leadership in there, I suspect.
Mhm.
Um, but who is it that you help specifically? Like, do you have an industry, an ICP, a company size, a team? Who do you end up working with?
I've been doing this for 17 years and I have been very industry agnostic. So I have helped tech, transportation, airline, pharmaceutical, real estate, you name it, I've probably done it. I've even helped defense contractors. So industry to me is not as important as uh, my clients having some sort of technical expertise and they're quite deep into it. But in order for them to do their work, they need to be able to persuade a wide range of people without their expertise. So that's the characteristic of people that I help. So it could be global sales executives, it could be C-suite, a lot of leadership communications that's internal, and also a lot of times when there's organizational redesign, um, merger and acquisitions. So brand new company um, under very different umbrella. Some people are gone, some people stay. Who are we? What are we? Why are we here? So those are all the things that the times where there's a lot of knowledge that is held by a small group of people, but in order for goals to be achieved, change to be implemented, a whole range of people have to be at least be able to understand and come along.
So that does make sense. I believe that any leader, not even aspiring leader or any regular job, the person performing it could use storytelling skills. Like there is, I don't see any role where that would hurt you. Maybe roles where you're really not in touch with any human, whether external to the company or internal, but that's really rare. Like maybe a very operational focused, not being in touch with anybody type of role, probably can overlook it. But anyone can use storytelling and especially leadership, which which raises the question, Esther, and I'm curious to get your take on this. When when your product slash service is for everyone, it's hard for anyone to relate to it or to be like, oh yeah, okay, I see how she is helping people like me. So it makes sense that it's industry agnostic because everybody needs it. Can you tell us a bit more about how you managed to build that brand, build that expertise, get leads through the door when you can help everyone in need of leadership and storytelling skills? What has worked for you marketing wise, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I wholeheartedly agree that if it's great for everyone, then it's great for nobody. I think what my when you're speaking of it, marketing, um, what is the point of differentiation is the following things. I use a lot of research backed insights. Um, Everything I do is very interactive, and I ask clients to do a lot of work with me together. And so, um, for I think a lot of people looking for formulaic approach, top down. Here are the things, copy it. That doesn't work because what I'm asking, and it's apparent in my writing, whether it's books or Forbes or others, I ask a lot. I ask my clients to ask a lot of reflection questions, self-reflections, because it's these day and age, especially with AI, and I'm sure you come across a lot of communication pieces that you don't have to read very far, you can tell that's written by AI. And could be very clear, very well written, but that is a bit of an automatic turnoff, isn't it? And so, but when I do ask clients, whether it's individual coaching or a group training, um, everybody goes through a lot of narrative identity related questions. I don't want to sound too academic, but it's the biographical information about you, about your experience, and more importantly, what that means. So you could be going through a career transition, or you could be going through an organization complete changeover, but so has hundreds and thousands of other people. They've all gone through the same thing, but what does it mean to you personally? And so it's when you have that personal imprint, like your fingerprints, that makes that story personable, genuine, and actually more relatable and persuadable.
So I like your style. That's the positioning. right? That's the messaging of like, hey, here is why what you thought might be the root cause problem of your symptom is not actually what you thought it was, but it's leadership storytelling, and here is how it can help. That's the positioning and the messaging. I'm a bit curious to understand more about how do you get leads through the door? Like what has worked for you, Esther, to get someone come and knock at the door and be like,
I
hey,
see.
they're not buying yet, right? We're not talking about sales, but what has worked for you to build that awareness and then get people to raise their hands and be like, this might be for me.
Um, Personal relationship, word of mouth, SEO, and now AI.
Okay, that was very straight to the point. I love this, which is why I'm going to ask you a follow up question on this. So, talk to me about SEO. Why SEO? So, relationships, network, that's most B2B coaches and consultants who do a good job. Um, but I'm interested into hearing more about SEO and AI. So, let's start with SEO. Why SEO? How did you make it work for yourself? And would you recommend people today explore SEO when it comes to high ticket B2B coaching and consulting?
I should get my colleague Rena to be on your show because she can really talk shop with you at SEO. I'll do my best. Um,
I'm sure you'll do great.
I think I learned it the hard way, SEO. The long and the short of it is, um, I am passionate about this topic. I have a lot to say, and I went through a period of writing a lot, publishing a lot, and then wouldn't really get anywhere. And then I realized that, oh, the way that I talk about it isn't really all that resonating with a lot of people. It's not even what they would search to begin with, even if they like the way I talk about it. And so I have come around to realizing that, oh, I have to use words and frame my articles in ways that is even searchable and discoverable. And so that was the aha moment, if you will. And then so we looked at what are people asking that is 1 to 2 degrees removed from leadership storytelling. And we looked at what specifically type of questions and what setting, specific context that they're asking it. Um, and then we come up with our top 10 words that we're trying to get really good at, rank really high in. And that changes, unfortunately. It's never static. So it does feel a little bit of chasing and listening to or obeying the machines, but the machine isn't dogmatic. The machine is just really aggregating millions and millions of users and then feeding back information. And so, in terms of marketing, it's really about being, what's the word I'm looking for? Trying not to be too detached to your baby or to um, the way that you want to dress your baby. As long as people are finding you through whatever way they describe it, that's how it should be done. So that's SEO.
See, I knew you were going to do great. Um, that all makes sense. For me, this is so important that I'm going to double down on a few things. Um, SEO can be extremely valuable. So SEO, right, search engine optimization. Someone types in a query that they want more information on or potentially buy from, and if you appear at the top of the search results because they type something that you can actually help with, and they click on your website, and your website is properly optimized, you have a lead. And if that lead converts into an engaged lead by downloading a lead magnet or taking any action that will basically get that lead to give you their contact details in exchange for value, you now have a lead, which is something that used to work extremely well since 2002, 2003. And that is knowing some transformations nowadays, obviously, because when we think about SEO and appearing at the top of the search results, we have to consider the fact that now there's going to be an AI search results first. Then Google is going to display some sponsored results, so people who are paying for the same keywords to instead of having to do all the work that gets them to rank high, which is a whole other conversation, they are just saying, hey, I'm really ready to pay you, Google, so that you put me at the top directly, and you pay per click. It's PPC advertising. But so SEO, amazing tool. It's overall good to be properly ranked on some main keywords for your website. It's harder and harder to get business through it though. But a lot of the things that work in SEO are the things that allow you to rank in AI search. AEO is the term that a lot of people use. Talk to me about AI, Esther. That's one of the ways you mentioned you were getting some business through. So, what do you mean with that? Why did you choose to potentially optimize for AI, and how are you making it work for you?
Well, I would be the first to admit that I am shooting in the dark here. Um,
Fair enough.
uh, at least I know this is not something to be scared of, to shy away from, or to pretend that it doesn't affect me.
Mhm,
Specifically how whether it's just me, one company website, or something as big as Forbes. I've been writing for Forbes since 2018, so almost 8 years. And they're the top contributors, the top 10% of the active contributors. We've noticed the hit that AI has on traffic. So it's inevitable. So how do I do it is I have my own search, I mean, not search, I have my own training bots. It's called Ella AI, and I encourage everybody to try it. I know there are lots of. Why wouldn't you just go use, Chad or Claude or whatever? Because the my bot is utilizing everything I've ever put out and not put out.
mhm,
Um, not ready to put out. So when you use it, it's not writing the stories for you, is coaching you to tell your unique fingerprint, unique stories. And so we noticed that for some reason, I don't know why, since we launched that, we're still able to keep up.
mhm.
Um, Is that replacing? I don't even really worry about, is that replacing me? I just throw it out there for free. This costs me money. Um, but it also continue to direct traffic. So I wish I can tell you specifically this is why it works, but it works for us.
Here we go. Um, okay, this is good. Thank you so much, Esther, for sharing this. Again, to maybe add my 2 cents on this, I think there is a huge opportunity right now to rank in AI. We've been discussing in some of our masterminds, like how to leverage AI as a high ticket B2B coach or consultant. For sure, creating an avatar of yourself, putting it out there is efficient. We have a member actually who just reached like 50 paying members who wants to bring her in for bigger, actually, it's leadership trainings within companies. So
Mm.
we, in my view, the B2B coaches and consultants who are going to win with AI are the ones who are able to leverage it, understanding that it will replace part of what they used to do. But for the people who would not pay their rates or who would pay a fraction of what they would charge anyways, meaning you're now accessing a market that couldn't have access to your, 500, 1,000, $2,000 a session coaching, but who can use your AI version for free or potentially $50 a month. But within that, you will also have people who would have not hired you in the first place because they wouldn't trust and spend like directly 20 grand, but who will be like, wait a second, this is great. And actually, I know other people within my company who could use that. Let me get in touch with them. And I think that's that distinction of like getting replaced by versus using it as a way to put a foot in the door can be extremely powerful.
And if
Um,
I may add to
yeah, go
that,
ahead. Go for it.
actually, I 100% agree with you, by the way, from my experience. Um, it's not only getting your foot in the door, but you are stepping up on the value chain. Yes, you are giving away, your IPs, in whatever form that is. But what you get in return, from my experience at least, is that you get to have keep the really valuable part to yourself, that nothing that I know of machines can do anyway, in my case. And because the alternative is what? My prediction is that um, you'll get left behind and you'll get left in the dust altogether.
As I said, I like your style. Um, okay, that was a lot on marketing. Let's do the transition to sales and retention, Esther. So you get people through SEO on the website, you get people through the AI, you get people through relationships and network. How do you move from all that, right, from this traction to an actual conversation, a sales conversation, an SOW, a letter of engagement, we rock and roll? What does sales motion look like for you?
Um, so that's where Rena and I tag team. We are business school classmates and we've worked together. This is the longest job we've ever had, for both of us. And she is extremely good at putting people at ease and extremely helpful. She has uh, degrees. She has a dual degree in MBA and engineering management. So um, she can talk both sides, technical and human. Um, and I think in the beginning, when we were still finding a role for her within within this enterprise, um, where she really landed and felt really comfortable was um, helping people, solving problems. Um, for example, one of the times she had a conversation with a CEO of a global manufacturing company, and accidentally, the really truly accidentally, the call was scheduled on a Friday afternoon. Maybe he was tired. I don't know. Um, but instead of pushing what we do on that person, Rena asked him a lot of questions. Questions that really he should be asking had he had the time, but he didn't. And it wasn't that he volunteering going into this call. Uh, he was looking for someone to train his senior leadership. Um, and so I think it's that sort of challenging uh, conversation, but that's not meant to be posing threat, but is really uh, edging prospective clients to do better. Um, that seems to be really doing it for us, and that's what she really excels in.
Asking lots of questions is usually a good way to get people to not only give you information, but also sell themselves. At the end of the day, people hate to be sold, they love to buy. The same goes for B2B high tickets. I definitely
I,
like your style. Okay, talk to me about retention, Esther. How do you, once you work with someone, right? You help them fix their storytelling skill issues, and then what? Right, the skill is learned. Like all skills, once it's learned, requires a bit of like maintenance, let's say. But it's hard to like keep people to pay you the same amount of money they paid you in the first place to fill that gap. So not to say, hey, how do you take the most money out of your clients, but how do you position your different offers so that you can keep on providing value, and therefore keep those clients' relationships longer? Have you ever
well,
thought about it like that? What do
yeah,
you think?
yeah, when it comes to retention, I am not somebody to learn from. In fact, I am probably somebody to learn not to do.
Okay.
Uh,
Now you need to tell us more.
Uh, I came from education background before even working for business schools, and so my orientation has always been um, if you're in a learning environment with me where I'm in the position to share something with you and you're learning from me, my end goal has always been I our share goal should be by the end of our time together, you will not need me anymore, ever, not for a long time. So
Strong
that's
sell.
that's a that's a not only a sell, but that is truly my orientation. So which is why I'm not being self-deprecating here when I said this is not something to learn from me at all. If you want to stay in business for a long time. Um, but I do agree that it is a pretty good value prop, at least as a start. And so I like to say that I like to think that I have fulfilled it most of the time. And then in all honestly, I'm in training, B2B training, and most people when they're done, they're happy, they learned something, they bonded with their colleagues, and they have something very tangible, specific that they can apply, and they have to go back and they're going on about their days. They don't want any more. And so the best thing for me to do in terms of retention is following up. So 1 week, 1 month, once a quarter, and offering reoccurring client appreciation webinar. But even then, those are not necessarily the well attended because s- I do I think storytelling is a broad encompassing skill, but they also have a lot of other things to learn.
I think you're not giving yourself as much credit as credits are due. I'm not sure of my English here. Point being, I think the role of a consultant is eventually to fire themselves. Um,
Mm.
and that's the right strategy, because otherwise this is not consulting anymore. This is managed services, or this is fractional, whatever the function you're in. But consulting slash B2B coaching, you're supposed to see an evolution, and eventually I had a client tell me that once he wanted to be the last physical trainer his clients would ever need, because they're
Mm.
like, some people will need the guidance, obviously. So where to start, what to do, how to do it. Then accountability is a big part of any transformation, right? It's not just, most people know what they need to do in order to lose weight, but it's not the reason why they're not doing it. It's because no one is holding them accountable, or there are no consequences perceived to that. That accountability is super important. But the ultimate coaching or the ultimate consulting program, in my opinion, is putting in place those accountability proxies for the person to be able to do it on their own. Now, in follow-up offers, they can absolutely be like, hey, we solved this problem. Because you solved that, the next one is going to be, how do I get my whole team to be properly, leadership and storytelling skills ready? Or like, once we have that, how do we give feedback? I don't know, I'm just giving a gazillion
Hmm.
ideas here. But there are problems that solving the one you're helping with, um, oh my God, I'm losing my English. Those problems are going to appear because you solved the previous one. So this is potentially an upsell. Or they are like, hey, now we have this, but let's keep this like, one-on-one touch every quarter or whatsoever. So yeah, I think your approach is very legit and shows to the authenticity and the trust building that you have in your process, Esther.
Well, thank you.
Um, my pleasure. I've said it many times actually. I like your style, so I'm gonna throw a little bit of a curveball question at you, Esther. What's What's your number one challenge right now? What's that one nut that once you crack, you're gonna take the whole thing to the next level? What would that be for you?
uh, if I don't have to mess with SEO, or if I don't have to worry about, hey, world, please don't forget Esther Choy. And then people still, if I don't have to mess with any of that, and then people still find me, that would be amazing. I love the work. I love the work so much. I don't like to, ironically, tell my story. I tell you, that's the hardest chapter of my book to write. I had uh, I have someone who helped me with the editing, and early on in the stage, he said, "My outline is great, but something's missing here, and that's who are you? Why should people buy your book and read your book?"
Hmm.
And I was like, "Oh God." Okay, yes, you're right. I guess I have to do it. But I saved that for the very end because I'm a writer, so I procrastinate. So
Is that
if
what they do?
I yeah. Oh yeah. I'm glad to have written, but like everyone hates writing. Everyone loves to have written.
Hmm.
So
Got it.
uh, my number one thing is if somebody can just please take care of marketing. Yeah, get that marketing for me, then I would be very happy.
Tell tell us more about this book. Like, why? What's winning without persuading? What's coming up? Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so uh, in the Asian war strategy book called The Art of War, there's this subtopic called
Sun
Winning
Tzu.
Without Fighting.
Hmm.
And so the title of my book took inspiration from that, Winning Without Fighting. So I call it Winning Without Persuading. It is a storytelling book, but I flip storytelling as is known conventionally in the business world on its head.
Hmm.
We assume the person shine in the spotlight and have a vision, persuasive, blah blah blah, all of that, which is great. There are a lots and lots of books about that. But winning without persuading is flipping the script in a sense that yes, it's important to shine in the spotlight, but invite other people in the spotlight. And I think in a sales conversation would be a great example, or even in a negotiation, adversarial conversation. It's important to lead with curiosity and to lead with a mindset of how can I discover more stories from other people. So that's the basic gist of it, because you can win bigger without having to push and use force and use your script imposing on other people, because and instead you can win even bigger when you discover stories that really change everything.
Esther Choy, ladies and gentlemen. Esther, if people want to find out more about you, see what you do, where should they go?
Leadership Story Lab, all in one word, leadershipstorylab.com. It has everything. I'm on LinkedIn personally. That's the only really social media I'm active on. And my book is published by HarperCollins, and it will be available on May 5th, 2 weeks from now. That is recorded. But pre-sale is very important to the success of the book. So I would be so honored if anybody would get a copy right now.
We will put all the links in the description. Check out Esther's book. If you like this episode, you'll definitely like it. Esther, thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders Podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.